Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here with you today. And yes, we are talking about abundance and prosperity. And I have to just say that I've been in such a whirlwind of good these last few months. And hi, you snuck in here. So I'm so honored to share this with everyone. So thank you for letting me do this, because as I give, I receive. There you have it, right? And Course in Miracles says that we teach what we most want to learn. So again, thank you for letting me share this, because then it reinforces it in me. So thank you. So we were just saying there are infinite forms of prosperity and abundance. You know, we sometimes think of it as only money, but it's true. It can be health, it can be relationships, it can be a multitude of things. But the truth is that whether we want better health, more money, or improved relationships, our success in that is determined by our paradigm. So what's a paradigm? So paradigms are belief systems that very well-meaning people who loved us when we were little kids and you know, teaching us, they might have had some limiting beliefs themselves. And so we just got some erroneous information. That's all it is. So now we get the opportunity to turn that around. And so my question is, which paradigm are you operating from? Be, do, have, or have, do, be? Now I'm going to explain what that means. And a little hint is that most of us do this backwards. So it looks like this. Most people think, once I have enough blank, whatever that is, once I have enough money, once I have enough food, once I have the new car, once I have the relationship, then, and only then, will I be able to do fill in the blank, whatever that is, and then I will be somewhere in the future because I've done all of that. Now I'll be happy, right? Now, okay. So it's actually backwards. Wise people think, if I decide to be whatever that thing is that you're desiring, be it. That's what Gandhi said, right? Be the love, be the joy, be the peace. Whatever it is that we're looking for out there, be that thing. When we come into alignment with that and we be that thing, now we start behaving from that space. And because we're behaving from that space, now we automatically, without thinking, do things that a person who behaves that way does. And because we're in alignment and we're doing those things, guess what happens? Now you have the money, now you have the car, now you have the relationship, right? It's the other way around. So that's what I'm going to be talking a little bit about today. One of my favorite quotes is from Abraham Hicks. Anybody familiar with Abraham Hicks? Yeah, a few people here. I used to have this at the bottom of all of my emails because I think this is so profound. It says, first, I'm going to be very, very, very happy, and then I will do what I have time to do after that. Now, that could sound like a very lazy person on the surface, right? It's like, I'm just going to sit around all day and be happy, and, oh, I might go to work. That's not what this is saying. What it's talking about is being in that flow of happiness, right? Because once we've established that flow of happiness, everything that we do after that will automatically increase and provide more happiness. So conversely, if I'm not in the flow of happiness, right, if I'm in a flow of anger or whatever that is, how's the rest of my day going to unfold? Just saying, right? So we want to maintain and be that thing that we're desiring. Also, we were talking a little bit about this earlier, and what is this? Chloe, was it? Chloe, you're in a beautiful example. Thank you for sharing that this morning. Because my question for us is, most of us, myself included, we're all excellent givers. I know everybody in this room loves, loves, loves to give. You know, whether it's hugs or, you know, just a cheery hello or finances or whatever it is. I know that we love to give the food, clothing, all of those things. But how many of us are comfortable with receiving? Let's just take that in for a second. I heard a yeah. So we say that we want the better health and the relationships and the finances, but are we unconsciously pushing that away? And here's what I mean by that. How often do we, like as an example, just deflect a simple compliment? When we told this beautiful child how beautiful she is, she knew that she was beautiful because nobody has told her any differently. She obviously has a wonderful mother who instills that in her and allows her to receive her good and receive her compliments, right? But pretty much everybody, I don't know if everybody's sitting here, but some of us, maybe perhaps sitting here, did not have that as we were being raised. And so we were raised, maybe perhaps the way that I was told just the opposite. You know, and we don't need to get into all of our stories and everything, but just be aware, perhaps, of what we've grown up with and hearing and those limiting beliefs. So here's a really great little story that I want to share with you. When I was working at Agape, Reverend Michael, one day, he had just gotten back from, I can't remember whether it was Africa or somewhere in South America, but I remember it was a little indigenous village where the culture was still very alive. And their traditions were still very intact. And they wore beautiful clothing and all of these things, and very colorful. And Reverend Michael was talking about it, and the custom there is when somebody gives you a compliment, you say, "Oh, it's true, thank you." Just like she did. Isn't that amazing? Yes, right? And so when he shared this with us, because the point that I'm trying to make here is that receiving, we just sang about it, we've been talking about it, is we must receive. Because if we're pushing our good away and we say, I want more of this, but we're not willing to receive it, what is the universe to do? It just becomes a neutral washout, right? So I'm just going to do something really fun today if you want to with me. And that is, we're going to practice. I know, you've seen me 3 times now, and you got to know by now, I come from a call and response church where there's activity in the audience, so just deal with it. It's who I am. Yay, she says yay. So if you are comfortable with it, I just want you to turn to your neighbor and just say something kind to them. Compliment them on their appearance, maybe their clothing, or just something nice that they've done. Or I'll start with Reverend Donnell.
It's true, thank you.
Reverend Donnell, I love the way that you do your prayers and meditation. It feels so good, and I feel so centered. Thank you.
Well, it's true, thank you.
You're welcome.
I am going to try that. I love that.
Yes.
And I appreciate all that you do, and your demeanor and your positive attitude. And I think that is the most beautiful thing about you. It just glows.
Oh, well, it's true. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay?
That wasn't too hard.
That wasn't too painful?
No.
Okay, all right. So let's give it a try. Turn to, oh, she's already moved over to do with Nancy. All right. Okay, so just turn to your neighbor and say something kind to a neighbor. Thank you for that little experiment. I love all the smiles and the hugs and the kisses. So like Reverend Donnell was sharing initially, that felt perhaps a little uncomfortable. Did you say that?
It could have.
It could have. Did anybody have that experience of, yes, I got a couple of nods. Yeah, it was a little uncomfortable because we weren't raised that way. So I'm just going to invite you to shift your paradigm, right? And to start, just pay attention. When you start feeling a little uncomfortable when somebody compliments you, just try it and say, even if you don't say it out loud, just think it in your mind. It's true. And then say thank you out loud, right? That's easier, right? Yeah. Just in my mind, say it's true. Like affirm that in myself. Yes, I am whatever that is that you said, right? It's like, yes, I am. And then say thank you, right? We can all do this, yes? Field of agreement? All right, done. Okay. All right, so moving on. Wayne Dyer, one of my favorite people, he has a wonderful quote. He says, abundance isn't something that we acquire, it's something we tune into. So it's kind of like the radio dial. Look at me like this. I'm so old, you can tell, right? It's like the radio, the old-fashioned radio with the dial, like tuning into this, right? It's a frequency, it's a vibration, right? So if I want to listen to the wave at 94.7, I know where to go. If I want to listen to something classical, I know where to go. We're going to tune into that vibration and frequency. And as we just discovered, cutting off the flow when we're not tuned in to receiving doesn't really work. A Course in Miracles says that giving and receiving are the same. And in fact, whoever's in class with me, you'll know that actually, oddly enough, I looked in the book this morning. You're not going to believe today's lesson.
Oh, I will.
Giving and receiving are the same, of course. How did that happen? So we're going to be in the flow. So now I'm going to share something with you that I found to be very profound, and you may want to even write this down if you want to. One time, as you can, I'm not even going to say this. I like to talk. Did anybody notice that? And I was actually having dinner with Reverend Michael and some different people, and apparently I was just yapping away about my lack and limitations and about why I couldn't do whatever it was that I wanted to do. And I will never forget this. Have you ever been like in your life, you're going like this, and then somebody says something and you go, and now you're on a completely different trajectory? This is what happened to me. This is a true story. So I'm yapping about to my person over here, like, oh, I want to do this and this and this, but I can't, and all these things. And he turns to me and he said very forcefully, lovingly, but very forcefully, Kimberly, frustrated. I could tell his frustration. It's like, you don't need to know the how. All you need to know is the what. And I tell you, my jaw dropped, and I couldn't even understand what he was saying. It was so foreign to my mind. And he said it again, you don't need to know the how. You only need to know the what. And I thought, whoa, now that changes everything, doesn't it? My goodness, I don't have to orchestrate anything anymore. I don't have to control or manipulate or do anything like that. I can just focus on what I want and not how I'm going to get it. Okay, this is new thinking. Let me try this. So I did. And what I discovered is what A Course in Miracles says. It says that miracles are natural, and when they're not occurring, something has gone wrong. And it also, yes, because we're in the flow, right? In the flow. And it also says that there's no difference, there's no order of difficulties. There's no difference in manifesting a button or a castle. It's the same principle. Either we're in the flow or we're not. So whether it's manifesting the relationships or the health or the finances or whatever it is, are we in that flow? Okay. So I have some examples that I can share with you, and I share these with you not to impress you, just to share what can happen when we shift our paradigm, like Reverend Michael taught me to do, right? So these are kind of fun and goofy, and it's an example of there's this, not that one is better than the other. These are all, to me, equally just as fun, and how wonderful to be in this flow. So the first one was back when we were doing our taxes. I had an opportunity to be, oh, taxes, right? Or I could just take the breath and know and trust that all is well and it's okay to do my taxes. And as I was doing my taxes, I thought, that's so interesting. You know, I've never bothered to look at the IRS website and see what it says. I've just been sending these things in, and I don't know what, you know, just, okay, I got this message from the infinite to just go take a look. So I did. Do you know what I found? Oh my goodness. I found like for every year, there was this deposit into, this money that I had in there that, like, one time it was $60 and another year it was $200 and another year it was $30, and these odd amounts going back 10 years. And that's only as far as I could see on the website. And I thought, this is really interesting. I need to look up what these initials mean, and where's this money that I've been getting every year that I don't know about? Back in 1991, I did a film in New York City, and do you know that these are residuals that I've been still getting that I did not know about? Because, you know, in the beginning you get good residuals, and then over time they get little drips and drabs, right? So I contacted the film company, and sure enough, you know what? They've been holding on to this money for me for all these years. I said, thank you. It's true, thank you, right? It's like so what a beautiful little gift that is, right? It's not like hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's probably maybe, I don't know, $500, $600. But hey, that's pretty awesome, right? Like a fun little thing to find out. So what I'm saying is, instead of staying in negativity with my taxes, I took the breath and shifted. And because I shifted, I got the information, and look what happened, right? Be fearless, be happy, right? Do, and then I have. Another example is I just recently got a bill from Kaiser, and my initial response was, what? You know, I mean, don't we all do that? It's like a bill, like, hey. And then Kimberly, you know better than this, honey. Take the breath, be, do, have, shift. Shift your paradigm. So I decided I'm going to know that there's a positive outcome. I'm going to call them up, and instead of being angry, I'm just going to just very neutrally find out what it is and find and correct the error. So do you know what I discovered? This is so fun, is they had actually, they were surprised to find this out as well, that they had overcharged me on something, and not only did I not owe them, they owe me. Isn't that great that I got a bill? I'm so excited. I love that. Another one is I was in my email account and I saw this email from something called We Pay. And I'm like, what is We Pay? Well, let me find out. I find out that they're trying to put money in my bank account because somebody signed up for a workshop that I'm doing through Meetup. And that's how Meetup takes money, and they want to give me money. I'm like, well, I'm on this. Here's my bank account information, please. Right? And then this is my favorite one. I just have to share this with you here. This is so cute. I was having coffee with Reverend Danelle at our place. And on my way home, I was driving by Petco, and I have this adorable little dog at home, and I thought, oh, let me just like swerve in here and get her some dog treats. You know, she deserves dog treats, right? So I go in, and you have these little bags, and you put the little dog treats in here, and I go to the counter, and I'm checking out, and I didn't say a word, but here's what's important that I want to share with you, is that as I was going to the checkout, I noticed there were these cute little cookies, these little dog, like, they look like Oreo cookies, and all I did was think in my mind, like, maybe next time I'll try some of those, but today I'm just going to get what I normally get, and you know, maybe down the line we'll celebrate something, I don't know, with my dog, and I'll do it then. And I get to the checkout line, I give the woman these little chew sticks, and without a word, she leaves behind the register, goes over to where the cookies were that I was just kind of looking at, I didn't say anything, and picks up cookies and puts them in my bag. And I said, she goes, and I was like, what? And she goes, they're on us. She goes, it's so sweet of you that you just stopped in just to get treats for your dog, and so now I want to give treats to your dog. So this is my show and tell. Isn't that adorable? And what's the metaphysical principle here? Is I was being loving and kind to my dog, right? I go in, she feels the loving and kindness, and then because she felt so good and loving and kind, she wanted to be loving and kind. See how that works? It's good stuff, right? We're all giving and receiving in the flow, right? So, oh, and here's the big one. I'm not, again, no order of difficulty, but this is the fun one. And some of you know, when I came here, I guess it's been a couple of months, maybe I've been here. Not that long. And I remember in the back, and it might have been Molly, I can't remember who asked me, you know, so what do you do, like, you know, in the world? And my answer was, I have no idea. I had just moved down from the mountain, I wasn't employed, and I also wasn't in panic mode. I have not been in panic mode, and I know the people who've known me know this. I've just been trusting that the perfect, whatever it is, you know, will become visible to me, and then I will do the steps that I need to do. And as a side note, which is really funny, is that in this whole process, I got a text from someone, and she was just kind of amazed by how this is all unfolding for me. And she goes, wow, you really do know how to manifest. And I texted her back and I said, I'm just following the recipe. It's actually pretty simple. So I won't go into the whole long story other than to say I was just offered a brand new position that's being created for me in a company that I love and resonate with, that I've known about for years, and it has all of the qualities that I asked for, including working for a woman that I truly respect and admire and that I can learn from, and this organization will continue to help me unfold my gifts and talents so that I can be of more service in the world. It's very wonderful, and I'm very grateful. So again, do we see how this game is played, if you want to call it that, right? So we must be in that receptive mode and shift our paradigms. Be, do, have, in that order. Okay. All right, and if I was to tell you more good, I'd be here all day. And so I've only got another 7 minutes, so I better speed it up here. The bottom line is the more good we have, the more good we can do in the world, yes? Yes. So we must have it in us so that we can share it with everyone. Yes. So sometimes I've heard that people say that money isn't spiritual and that we shouldn't discuss it publicly, and especially in a setting like this. And I'm just going to invite you to consider just for a moment that money actually is spiritual, because it's a form of energy. It's an energy exchange. It's the way that we give and share energy, right? We don't barter with cows and eggs, right? It's like, not anymore. So this is just a way that when we have a service that we appreciate, we have a way that that person can receive our energy in a meaningful way for them. It's all it is. It's pretty neutral. And one of my favorite quotes is from one of my wonderful mentors. His name is John Assaraf. And this changed my thinking. He said, the more money I have, the more people I can help, and the more good I can do in the world. And I thought, oh, well, now that changes it. It's not about me trying to hoard money or have possessions or anything like that. It's just a way for me to continue to flow and circulate and give, right? Such a beautiful thing. So here's a little story that I just recently learned. Recently, haha. We were just talking about, we have our talks all prepared and then Spirit just gives us stuff. So this is that. So Mary Morrissey, I was watching a video and she was sharing when she was first starting out many years ago, and she had a mentor and a teacher that came out on stage, and first he had money, and let's see, where did I put that? Oh, did it fall? Here it is. Thank you. So he was saying, he came out on stage and he fanned out like all of this money. And then he said, oh, I just love money. And he kissed the money. And she was so repulsed. And she was like, who are you? You are not spiritual. She had like all these judgments in her mind. Like, how dare you do that, right? And then he brought out a beautiful baby. And he held the baby and he kissed the baby and he said, oh, I just love babies, right? And of course she had no judgments on that. And then he explained the thing about how we were trained to see babies. It's okay to love and appreciate babies, but why do we not love and appreciate our money? Because we have a judgment. So here's just a simple question. If I'm not loving and appreciating my money, why would it stay? It's not going to stay where it's not welcome and it's not wanted. So I'm just going to invite us just perhaps to think of it as a spiritual principle, to have income so that we can be of greater service. Yes? Yes. Awesome. So that brings us to something that's, many of us grew up with this word, and I was asking if Gina could just play some ominous music, like dun 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 dun, or something like that. Oh, she's got it. Okay, hold on to your seat. It's the word tithing. So I decided to rename this word because really good stuff has happened when I do this, and I want to share this with you. So I renamed it, the acronym. So instead of TITHE, I'm calling it trusting infinite truth to heal everything. Because it's not just finances, it's our health, it's our relationships, it's every area of our life when we come into this flow, right? And as we give, we receive. So instead of talking about the mandatory 10% we've all heard of, I'm going to change it up and talk about the metaphysical principle of being in this flow. And since I can't give this $20 bill directly to God, right? What I do is I tithe it to wherever I feel that I've been spiritually uplifted. It could be this beautiful organization that we're in right now, this beautiful spiritual center that Reverend Donnell has lovingly established for us. I mean, I'm not alone. Everybody here loves coming here. Yes, we're grateful for this, and we thank you for creating such a beautiful spiritual center that we get to come to.
It's true. Thank you.
and it could just simply be, I am, you know, someone that you're just in conversation with, and perhaps they say something that's really profound. You could just pull out some money and say, thank you, here's a tithe for spiritually uplifting me, right? There's so many ways that we can do this. But I'm going to share something that's really fun with you that I learned. And there's a gentleman by the name of T. Harv Eker. Has anybody ever heard of him? He teaches something called the Millionaire Mind. And this is a really fun way to tithe. Many years ago, I was invited to go hear him speak, and boy, did they have to drag me. I mean, I really did not want to go hear this. I was in so much resistance, and I literally was late, and I even refused to brush my teeth. I was like, I am not going, and my husband at the time, he's like pulling me out the door, and I'm like, but I didn't brush my teeth, it doesn't matter, we're going, you know. So I get there, and I'm like this. I do not like him. I don't like anything about him. I mean, I was just in resistance. But he said something that really caught my attention. He has this jar system, and it looks like this. He had a bunch of like mason jars on the table, and he had money in all of these as a visual aid, right? And okay, he has my attention. I'm game. I'll listen. So what he talked about was a way that we can increase our finances. And what he said is you have different jars for different things so that you're never broke. And I was really broke. I mean, I was like beyond broke. I had like no money, right? And so I'm like, okay, clearly he's made millions and millions of dollars and I have not. Perhaps I should listen. Okay. So he had somebody in the audience who had done this before. It was, and she had gone on to actually work for his company. And apparently when she had heard him speak about this several years before that, she was also broke. And so she did this jar system, and she started with pennies. And I thought, I have pennies? I can do pennies. Okay, okay, I'll do it. And so you have a jar for your expenses, like your overhead, your rent, your food, those kind of things. Then there was a jar for education, so that you've always got money set aside, and then a jar for whatever those other things are in your life, areas that you want to do. And there was a jar for tithing, you know. And so what he said is, you make up your own percentages. Don't get stuck on it. And I'm like, okay. So 99% goes in the I rent food jar. And I'm putting pennies in all of my other jars. Well, lo and behold, do you know what happened? My pennies turned into nickels, and my nickels turned into dimes, and my dimes became quarters, and then dollar bills, and 10s, and 20s, and 50s, and at one point I had $100 bills stashed down in my jars. How did that happen? Good question. And I finally figured it out. It's the metaphysical principle. And this is true whether it's our health, relationships, or finances. And we've all heard this before. So it's where our intention goes, energy flows. Where is my focus? What am I focusing on? Am I focusing on my good? Am I being negative or am I being positive? We all know this. I'm preaching to the choir here, right? We all know all of this. This is just a reminder that this is how this works. And so because I was really paying attention to my pennies and paying attention to my nickels, right? And then eventually I was able to take that money, and take it from 99% and then spreading out the 1%, right? I was able to distribute a little more evenly, so that I did have money to take classes. I did have money to travel. I did have money to do the things that I wanted to do. I will also share with you that I am not infallible. And there have been times that I have forgotten to do this. And when I find myself a little short in the finances department, I'm like, oh, jars. Let me get those jars back out. And at the time I got paid in cash, so it was easy to do it. But if we don't get paid in cash, we can do this on a spreadsheet. It's very simple, right? You just make your columns. And he even suggests having a separate bank account for each one of those columns so that you're not tempted to take it out. It's not so easy, right? So however you choose to do that, I have an invitation for you, and it goes like this. If you would like to do this system and create a little tithing jar, because we're going to trust in the infinite, right? With the truth, what was it? Trusting in the infinite truth, healing, everything. That's what it is, yes. So God is our source and supply. So I'm just going to invite us, if we do want to have the jar that says tithing on it, or you could just say, whatever new money comes into my life. Then it's not even hard. That's not hard, right? It was like surprise money, like my IRS money or the Kaiser bill money, right? New money. Just tithe a percentage of that to whether it's this spiritual center or someplace wherever you feel spiritually uplifted, or to a person. And I'm just going to ask you to watch what happens. Your life will change. It will. It cannot not, as long as we're receiving, right? So that's what I'm going to invite you to do today. And if you also are interested in going in to this a little bit deeper with me, I have a workshop coming up on June 9th, and I don't even call it a workshop, I call it a play shop, because I'm all about the fun. And we're going to do some fun little things where we're going to anchor the vibration of living as if it had already happened. This is that be, do, have thing again, being it, right? What would it feel like to have whatever that is? And then we're going to experience that paradigm shift. And then we're going to leave with tools and some skills to experience more success and more happiness on a daily basis, no matter what. No matter what. So it doesn't matter if your boss is being mean, it doesn't matter. I can still be happy. I'm independent of that, right? So if you're interested in that, let me know. That's on the website, and you can sign up and pay through WePay. I found out. And I think that's it, Reverend Danelle. All right. Thank you so much for inviting me. I appreciate you. I love you, and I hope this is of service to you in some way. Thank you.